Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome to Supply Chain Unfiltered, where we provide a candid look at the challenges that supply chain professionals are facing and bring in forward thinkers and innovators to get their insights on strategies, technologies, collaborative efforts shaping the future of supply chain. I'm Christine Barnhart, and I'm going to be your host this morning. And I am super excited because we have a really fabulous show planned. We are having a very special guest. I'd like to welcome Jason Tham. He is the co-founder and CEO of Nulogy. And he just won a really awesome award from Supply and Demand Chain Executive. Welcome, Jason, and congratulations on your Pros to Know Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks for having me. And I just got back from Atlanta last week, and it was nice to see some other fellow recipients, some even past ones too, and network with them. And it's a good reflection on my journey and learning about others too.
Well, I think that's a great jumping off point this morning, Jason. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you founded Nulogy.
Well, a bit of myself. First and foremost, I'm a parent. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I have two little girls. And I say that because I think the personal and professional lives do intertwine even more than ever. But before that, I'm an engineer by background, similar to you, Christine. I worked in some various different industries, in consumer packaged goods, in automotive and contract manufacturing. So I got exposed, and I was also a software developer for some time. So that exposed me to various different, problems in the supply chain. If I even look back previously, because I do think that our formative years do shape what we want to do. And I didn't really connect this so much, and particularly when I got this Supply Chain Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, I was like, well, what did shape this? I grew up around the dinner table with supply chain. My father was teaching. He did his master's and his thesis, his doctoral thesis, very much in supply chain and AI work. So my sister and myself, kind of osmosis in the sense, kind of picked up things around the dinner table.
Yeah.
In that sense. Early days, like we all different fans of like whether it be Star Wars or Star Trek or some other kind of genre of movie. I was always a Star Trek fan, and I only say this too because I had this like dream of like, can I make data? Can I make this like smart, intelligent, sensing person effectively to solve for problems?
Yeah, I grew up with Leonard Nimoy as well at the dinner table. Live long and prosper, right? Which is probably like why I went into engineering. It was okay to be kind of a geeky, person.
Yeah, and I think sci-fi sometimes does foretell the future, right? Like, but the question is when, and how is that going to manifest? And how is it going to play out? So yeah, and that's why you and I get along, and Leonard Nimoy, and so I started off with some of those inspirations, and how it started Nulogy. I think it's a bit of the troika of a bit of a passion, and what's then the capabilities you have, and then sort of what's the opportunity. So there was a passion certainly for solving problems in the supply chain, and the founders and myself had a passion, particularly a bit of altruistic one for sure, around sustainability. Like we want to start a company that could enable and give back to the planet in some way. And when we were thinking about different ideas and we'd worked in different places, like what could actually take it, could be a business, solve a problem that's meaningful, but also have this concept to give back to the planet. That was a bit of a passion, and I'll get into the sort of supply chains for society and our vision and mission around Nulogy and how we enable that, or how we believe we're enabling that. And then as capability, we had experience in software, we had experience in supply chain, in CPG. I worked at Kellogg's, I worked in food, I worked in contract manufacturing. I saw a lot of the asynchronous data that's being passed back and forth the lack of visibility, the inability to see capacity, the inability to collaborate and synchronize data, all these kind of problems. And there's an opportunity. Has anyone solving this?
Yeah.
First time you kind of say, I'm going to solve this problem, you kind of, I remember we pitched this to some customers. It was a large confection and pet care company who's still a customer today. And they said that this hasn't been solved for. You should really solve for this. So the question is this an indication or an aberration? Is it like an indication of something that is more pervasive as a problem that's not being solved for in the supply chain, or just an aberration that maybe someone, this one customer had this one problem, but as we continued this, we saw this more and more, that this is not unique, that in fact, this problem that I'm sort of wading into,
Skating around right now.
around getting to a collaborative supply chain, one that's more orchestrated and synchronous, is not solved for.
I would totally agree with you. I mean, it is like the biggest part of the reason that I came to Nulogy, a year and a half ago, right? Like I had been at Whirlpool, at Mead Johnson, at Berry Global, doing supply chain work, and was really frustrated that it didn't matter how much time, effort, even how much money we invested within our four walls, it was still constant firefighting. And like that promise of multi-enterprise collaboration and synchronization really spoke to me.
No, you've seen, I mean, everyone has an ERP, and there's an unreal amount of money spent on ERP every year. And it's not like you shouldn't or can't, but a lot of this is spent on just keeping the lights on and really mediocrity. And the hard part, I think, in supply chain is that no one succeeds alone. And I think what you're describing there is at Mead Johnson and Whirlpool is you were always constant firefighting because it was all about, your suppliers, your customers. It wasn't just even the internal. If you had control and influence over just your own assets, much easier. But because of this supply chain or supply network or ecosystem, that is what pulls and pushes and requires you to sort of sense and respond because of that. And that's really hard, I think, in supply chain.
And I think, it's interesting because, there are others that try to work in this multi-enterprise space, but Nulogy is the only one that I have found that has a lot of experience and focus in that, like, contract manufacturing, co-packing, this, extended supply chain or external supply chain. Was there, I mean, what was the thought behind that? Why go in that route?
Yeah, it was really solving for a problem or finding a problem that was unsolved for, and an ERP, like I mentioned, is very understood. It's a lot for me, like the enterprise. But this rise of the multi-enterprise is to we. And what's the we? It's that external supply chain. Every company, every organization has an external supply chain comprised of those co-packers, co-manufacturers, 3PL providers. And yes, there is a importance for serving the customer, and they're part of your supply chain. And you can forecast and try to predict the demand. But what we thought was even better than forecasting was driving agility. And agility in that supply chain is coming from that supplier relationship to be able to respond to different, signals that change ever so often on that demand. So, being able to get that synchronous and sensing with that supplier ecosystem is the challenge that I think a lot of our customers ask us to solve for. And are we the only ones? I think Gartner did put us in a report saying that we are the only notable ones. one of our goals was to be a one of one versus one of many company. I wouldn't say that we're maybe the only ones. I like to think that we're the best. We certainly have a lot of experience in it, and we are growing, and we're continuing to double down on solving for this problem.
Well, in such a critical need. So I am our audience may recognize that this is not my home office studio because I'm in Philadelphia this week for PAC Expo East and the Foundation of Supply Chain Solutions, F4SS. And yesterday we had a really great speaker, Laura Ciceri from Supply Chain Insights. And one of the things that she said is, this outsourced manufacturing to support your business, contract manufacturers, co-packers, it's only growing across multiple industries and verticals. It's about 30% of everything that's manufactured today. I'm sure that number was less 20 years ago when you originally founded the company. Has your vision changed? I mean, how has Nulogy grown?
Yeah. So I'd like to say we pivoted like every tech startup like 15 times and found I can't actually say that we did pivot all that much. We stuck quite true. We expanded the aperture of our focus for sure, and we brought in AI and definitely some of the newer capabilities to enhance the value of our solution offering. But the problem itself, as you described, is that we found like early on. And yes, I'm an engineer, but I dabble a lot in economics, and I do think that companies do what they do best first. So if you think of like manufacturers or more like brands are doing what they do best, which is branding. Okay, they're marketing and selling. Not like they don't have R&D, not like they don't have facilities, but more and more they're going to rely on manufacturers or co-manufacturers and co-packers, which they do best. And the economy will grow, and there'll be more value if multiple organizations stick to their focus and actually learn to collaborate together.
Right.
Like that's like the overall in a few words, how you create value. And I think that our first customer, that one of our first customers, and that chocolate and pet care company, they it was like low double digits, like 10-12% outsourced, contract packaged and contract manufactured. Today it's about 30%, and some of their brands are in fact 100%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, complete virtual. So effectively they are a brand. They are having the formulation, but they're relying on a set of contract manufacturers and packagers to make their product, whether it be snacking bars and so forth, healthy snacks and so forth, through these different channels. And the making, the packaging, this distribution is through third parties. So
Okay.
you might think of it like, well, I do everything that's non-asset based. Isn't ERP like for me? But that's the problem, right?
Right.
It's about getting that outside inside visibility of what my suppliers are making for me, what are they packaging, how are they distributing, so I can better serve, and launch products, and make them safer and better, and with less waste for the customer.
And I know something we talk about quite a bit internally is that people are making investments in advanced planning systems and ERPs, but if you can't get those systems real-time data from your supply base, you're sub-optimizing. You're not getting all the value from those systems that you can, which I think it's like people are finally kind of, the light bulb's like, it's like on a dimmer switch. It's like partially on, not all the way on for everybody. So yeah, so I want to make sure we save time to talk about some, what I think is super exciting news for Nulogy, which is the recent announcements about new investment. So can you talk to us just a little bit about what's been going on there, and how it sets Nulogy up for success in the future?
Yeah, no, for sure, Christina. And that I've taken a long journey and been very prudent on like who do we partner with, and we're super
Right.
excited with our new investment partner, Rubicon. They're a large West Coast investor, and have domain experience in supply chain. We've known them actually for a while, about them through their portfolio company, or several of the portfolio companies, but engaged with them. And our growth has been very organic, in the sense that we've grown through customer acquisition. We've had a few investors, but it's been very much internally developed and growth. And with Rubicon, partnering with them with their new fund, it was raised Q4 of last year, so quite recent set of capital, about $1.7 billion, where they're very concentrated investments to not only help companies like ourselves grow organically that already have some scale, but then look at complementary technologies that could also help grow inorganically. So we thought this was the right time to do that. It allows us to, we have so many different customers. We have hundreds of customers in about 20 countries, and we are exposed to a lot of our customers saying that, hey, if you had this capability, or we have this other solution provider that's maybe not serving us so well, or maybe a bit smaller, or maybe they are serving us well, but if you had this capability and you brought it within your umbrella, it would be so much more value added for us. So those are kind of the things that, frankly, I haven't done before. Like I said, we've grown for almost 20 years here, just purely organically. But this allows us to assess and look at some inorganic opportunities. And in this market today, when we're just kind of coming out of a tech winter, except if you're like the seven months. But no, really, a lot of smaller companies got drunk on a lot of on capital, and they didn't have and they have to, let's say, figure out what they're having to do. It presents us with the opportunities to see if us as a self-sustaining company with a strong track record and leadership position in our multi-enterprise supply chain space, how do we grow inorganically as well? So that's what Rubicon allows us to do with some capital on a balance sheet and certainly a large fund.
Does it help us in terms of investments in new capabilities? I mean, look, if you're in technology, actually, if you're just on the planet and you're not talking about artificial intelligence, like, I don't know, something's wrong with you, because it is the buzzword right now. So, I mean, is there a link between kind of where Nulogy is heading and this investment?
Yeah, and I would say that Rubicon very much aligned to our vision. They understand the name Nulogy, root word Nuology was rooted in driving intelligence and AI in the supply chain. So it's not like we never had AI. We're just gonna certainly invest more. And the interesting part is, like, AI is a buzzword. It's important, but even maybe the precursor to that is you need to have a data strategy. So we spend a lot of time on enabling our customers to acquire data within their organization and also with their external supply chain partners. And having the intelligence and the machine learning and the AI now to do more predictive, prescriptive recommendations are areas that we're investing in, that our customers are using today. So the answer is, I'm excited for that, for sure. Some of their experience in portfolio is also using AI. So I look forward to continue to experiment, because right now there's a lot of opportunity, but frankly, not a ton of, like, oh, this is like how exactly I'm going to use AI, at least in multi-enterprise. So it's
Right.
exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I mean, I think there's so much hype. And look, these large language models and, chat GPT, it is super exciting, but so much of supply chain is math oriented, and which is not what these systems were designed for. So I worry that some people are kind of getting over their skis and thinking that it's a complete shift, when, to your point, you have to have the data. to feed the models, you have to really have some understanding of, machine learning and kind of application of, I hate to say this, but it's like bread and butter artificial intelligence, right? Like there's just so much opportunity to solve problems there. And so like for me, I'm excited that we're experimenting and we're looking at some of the new tech, but we're not abandoning, kind of the things that just help companies kind of day in and day out run their business better.
For sure. And the foundation, as you alluded to, is clean, timely data. It's very difficult to get that. And without that, it's not going to be valuable to just run an algorithm, or almost like the algorithm is a little bit the easier part, than getting clean and timely data. I have a question to you. You're in Philly, and you're
Yeah.
interacting with a lot of our customers. You were with Laura, but what do you think of the readiness of customers and the mindset of just supply chain practitioners? Are they anticipating? Are they scared? Are they looking forward to, like, I sometimes think that supply chain folks are the most analytical, and that's very good. But at the same time, they are slower moving because of it.
Yeah,
Um,
it can be very bad, right?
yeah. So anything observations you had in the last couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's twofold, JT. I would say, people that are going to events like F4SS and to Pack Expo East, they already are in a different mindset, right? Because they're making the investment to go and learn and educate themselves. So they're perhaps, maybe a little bit further ahead on that kind of maturity curve. I do think people, what I've seen is that the analysts, the thought leaders, the evangelists are doing a better job now of like getting to the basics as opposed to the buzzwords, right? So, what I saw yesterday, we had 3 great opening sessions. We had Peter Bolstra from the Association of Supply Chain Management, and he went through like the top trends right now. And one of the things that came out of that I thought was really interesting is he's like, it's not agility. There's really 2 types of agility that you have to look for and concentrate on, and it's strategic agility and tactical agility. And as supply chains, we're pretty good on the tactical agility side and firefighting and pivoting quickly, but we have not been great on strategic agility and really being prescriptive and preparing when we're not in a crisis, right? So I thought that was really good. Laura, I love her. She's brilliant. But even, for me, I'm like elbow deep in supply chain every day. Sometimes I have to hear things from her 2 or 3 times because she's just so advanced in her thinking. But, even she was like, look, we have to understand how we got here. And I think she's doing a really good job now of helping people kind of understand how supply chains got to the point where, quite frankly, we fell off the cliff. And we fell off the cliff because there were just fundamental things we weren't doing. So I thought that was great. And then, her message, she's like, look, if you're only looking within your enterprise, you're going to continue to have problems. And I think that that's kind of at the core, that we're finally starting to see some big brands be kind of first movers. And we're seeing, some of that supply base kind of raising their hand and screaming and saying, no, 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 like, I don't want to send you Excel spreadsheets, and I don't want to log into your portal. I want to have robust connectivity with you. And I want to be your partner. And I think that that's a shift. I mean, look, I came into supply chain and manufacturing in the late 90s, and we were beating on suppliers and we were farming stuff out. And I think that relationship has changed. And so I do think there's an appetite for what I call virtual vertical integration, right? So I do think it's changing, Jason. But I think we have a long way to go.
Yeah, you mentioned about this, portals, and people, do they have a really a good source data capture strategy to get data from the external supply partners? And that's where I think almost like the hard part is, yes, it's technology, but it's also a bit of a collaboration mindset to be like, how do I, in fact, because we've understood, certainly with leading supply chains, that it's not the companies that win, but it's the supply chains that win. So
It
if
is.
it requires a not only just leadership mind share, but like thinking along the lines like, I'm not there to beat up or berate my suppliers, but in fact work together to a common purpose. That is difficult.
Yeah.
I think to change.
Well, in the outsourcing, all it really, I mean, one of the things that it's done is it's made all the data more latent, right? It I tell you what I need, it takes longer for you to tell me what you can do.
Mhm.
I'm passing these emails back and forth. It could be a week, 2 weeks. And one of the interesting things that Tom Goldsby from the University of Tennessee talked about yesterday, during the pandemic with one of the companies that they worked with, was they recognized that they needed to shorten that time. If they could shorten the latency, then they could actually function with less inventory, and less inventory, it's better for your overall business. And so I think there's onus on us as technologists, to better educate the market about, if you're saving time and it doesn't take as long to make a decision or to make a change, that has real tangible benefits, in terms of dollars for your business. It makes you more agile without having to carry inventory and safety stock.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that goes back to the synchronization
Exactly.
of data. You made me think of when you said emails. It's like I think emails akin to EDI. It kind of is like I'm sending a data, but would anyone say that email is collaboration? Probably not, right? Like you wouldn't say like email is collaboration. I'm collaborating because I'm on email. It's communication, right?
It's
Like,
no, no, I agree with you.
right?
Although, there's a lot of technologists out there that are like, oh yeah, we support collaboration. And
Yeah.
their version of collaboration is, I sent you a spreadsheet, you updated it, and I sent it back. You know what I mean? So,
That's
I,
what I
I
mean.
think we just have to do better as an industry, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. There's a ton of opportunity but
So,
I rate.
Jason,
Yep, please.
question, like, because this has been great, but we're like getting close to the end of our time this morning. And I love that you came on the podcast. Tell us, like, what's the best way for folks to connect with you?
Well, certainly in the next month and a bit, we'll be at a couple of shows. I'll be personally at a couple of major events: the American Supply Chain Summit in Dallas, April 30th, May 1st, and the Gartner Supply Chain Symposium. Myself and several team members, May 6th to 8th. You'll be there, I believe, too,
Yep.
Christine. So that's obviously a large event. We look forward to connecting. On LinkedIn is one of the best ways. I think we're all on most of us are all in that network, and I do respond, but I do look forward to having anyone want to reach out to me at these shows or over LinkedIn.
Awesome. Okay, well, this is pretty much, we're at the end of our time. Jason, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Congratulations again on your lifetime achievement. I now have like a goal. I'm like, I want a lifetime achievement award too. So you've given me a new goal to work for. I'd be remiss this morning if I didn't give a shout out to our fabulous producers, Let's Talk Supply Chain, and specifically to their fearless leader, Sarah Barnes Humphrey. Not sure where she's at in the world today, but we could not bring you Supply Chain Unfiltered without their support, and we really appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for guests, please reach out to us. I am always available via LinkedIn, or you can get to us through nulogy.com. I want to hear from you. Like, my perspective is this is your show and I'm just hosting it. And so whatever you want to see in terms of content, let us know. And we are happy to work on getting those guests and that content available. So thank you so much. Hope to see everybody next month in April, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Christine.